Spanish joined the Iberian commitment to exploration and empire. It appears that from all the evidence that has accumulated, that the Spanish were in fact intrigued by the success of Portugal. I mean, the fact of the matter is that it was small Portugal that led the way in regard to a European expansion, motivated in part by Romanticism, the hope to connect with Priester John and the mythological Christian communities, as well as some hard-headed practical motivation. The Portuguese attempted to tap into the Niger Valley region, and their focus will then move beyond the Niger Valley region, and the Portuguese will establish trading posts in the Indian Ocean region. And the Spanish will be motivated by the success of the Portuguese. And they, like the Portuguese, will throw the power of the crown behind exploration. The Spanish will tap one Christopher Columbus, a Genovese sailor, to go out on behalf of the crown. Christopher Columbus was born in 1451 and will die in 1506. He was a brilliant sailor. He was a great businessman. He was a great self-promoter. And the one product that he had to promote was, in fact, himself. Christopher Columbus's idea was to sail not around Africa, going eastward as the Portuguese had done, and arriving in the Indian Ocean Valley region. What Christopher Columbus desired to do was to sail westward, and by sailing westward, the hope was that he would indeed land in the east, in the Indies. So that is in fact the game plan for Christopher Columbus. The evidence is quite intriguing. How much did Christopher Columbus understand? Did he in fact understand that there were going to be obstacles in his way, specifically North and South America? Will there be these obstacles in his way that will block his arrival in the Indies? One of the problems that Christopher Columbus encountered was the fact that he really just misunderstood the size of the globe. And he at first went to the Portuguese and hoped that the Portuguese would in fact sanction his voyage. But they seriously doubted his belief in regard to how close the Indies would be by sailing in a western direction. We need to really avoid romanticizing the voyages of Christopher Columbus. What he did is spectacular. It did take courage. It did take bravery. All that is a given. But we should not romanticize the whole thing. First of all, Isabella, for example, who did in fact back Christopher Columbus, did not sell the crown jewels to finance the operation. I mean, really, if you look at what was given, the crown was rather stingy in regard to backing Christopher Columbus. There is the ever-present myth that people believed that the earth was flat. Well, the truth of the matter is that's balderdash. That is a 19th century construct. It appears in the writings of Washington Irving for the first time. Irving was a writer. He was trying to make the story very, very interesting, very appealing, and he threw this in. No one believed that the earth was flat. The issue is going to be there is a great unknown out there, and so you don't know what's going to happen when you're out there and you are in fact sailing. In any event, Columbus will set sail in 1492. He will be equipped with 3 very small ships and 90 sailors. This will simply be the first of 4 voyages that Christopher Columbus will make. He'll make the first, as I said, in 1492, a second in 1493, a third in 1498, and his final voyage will be in 1502. And he's largely going to die unfulfilled. He is going to be very, very famous, but he's going to die unfulfilled. And one thing that I think is really interesting is just the scale of his later voyages. As I pointed out just moments ago, the first voyage in 1492, he had 3 very small ships and 90 men. But his second voyage will include 17 ships and 1,700 men. See, what that indicates is that the Crown had taken something of a wait-and-see sort of attitude. And when he came back after the first voyage with reports, the Crown investors likewise thought, okay, this truly looks good. There is the possibility that we can replicate the Portuguese experience. Columbus will, in fact, die unfulfilled. He will go to his death believing that he had arrived or he had located in his voyages just the islands just off the coast of Japan. But the fact of the matter is he did not. In 1501, Amerigo Vespucci will be sailing off the coast of Brazil. And it will be Vespucci that will realize that Columbus had in fact discovered the New World. Vasco Núñez de Balboa will continue the explorations laid or paved by Christopher Columbus. And Balboa will cross the isthmus of Latin America. And he will be the first European to view the Pacific Ocean. Ferdinand Magellan in 1519 will also follow suit. He had the lofty goal of desiring to sail around the globe. Magellan does not make it. The fact is he dies in the Philippines in 1521, but one of his ships did return. And what's really significant about this is that it indicates that it was possible. It was possible to sail around the entire globe. And it also provided a real sense of scale, of the globe. Now, Northern Europeans will get involved in the explorations as well. But they're going to be very, very slow to get involved. Northern Europeans, the British, and the French will look for routes to Asia, like their Iberian counterparts, but they're going to look to sail a different direction. As your book points out, the Portuguese will attempt to sail to Asia by going eastward around the Cape of Africa and into the Indian Ocean Valley. The Spanish will attempt to land in Asia by sailing westward. What the Northern Europeans will attempt to do is to locate Asia by sailing northward. This kept them out of contact with the Spanish, who at that time the British and the French do not want to engage because the Spanish were regarded as the premier naval power. So the Northern Europeans will sail northward. What they're hoping to find is the Great Northwest Passage. The Great Northwest Passage, which will link, well, the thought was that this passage went through the North American continent and would ultimately dump out into Asia. John Cabot, 1450 to 1499, will set sail in search of or in pursuit of the Great Northwest Passage. And he will be the first to sight Newfoundland. Again, is he really the first to sight Newfoundland? Well, no. The Vikings definitely did some explorations in the area, but it's John Cabot that kept a diary, and he does provide a written record of his observations and explorations. But Cabot's sighting of Newfoundland is simply really the end of the exploration for the northern Europeans. They're going to have to deal with problems at home. There's political turmoil at home. And they've got the issues of the Reformation to deal with as well. So there's religious and political obstacles that will stand in the way and that will keep England from being aggressive and pursuing overseas explorations for at least another century. Jacques Cartier will sail for the French, and he will do some early exploring as well. He located the St. Lawrence River, and it appeared that that this might in fact be the Great Northwest Passage, for it went well into the interior of North America, but it proves to be a disappointment in regard to fulfilling the goal of locating the Great Northwest Passage. The French, like the British, will be forced to deal with political and religious problems at home, and so they therefore will not be as aggressive in overseas expansion for at least another century as well. But the Spanish will continue. The Spanish will continue. Herman Cortez, 1485 to 1546, will move into Mexico. Francisco Pizarro, 1470 to 1541, will explore Peru. Between 1492 and 1600, the Spaniards, all total, will import 200,000 Spaniards into South America, and this is a sizable chunk of a population. They will also establish an administrative structure that will rival that of Rome, and so the experience in South America, the Spanish experience, is going to be very different when compared to the Portuguese. For the Portuguese are only going to plant in the Indian Ocean Valley some trading posts, but the Spanish will plant in South America a different experience, a more heavy-handed, more sophisticated, if you will, approach. I mean, they'll send massive populations in. They will dominate agriculture. They will become involved in the extraction of mineral resources, and they will send thousands and thousands of tons of bullion back to Europe. And the Spanish, the bullion does not permanently enrich the Spanish crown. The resources will actually pass through Spain, and will actually create something of a economic revolution in Europe as a result. But the point is, it doesn't permanently, the importation of all this bullion does not permanently enrich the Spanish. Now, the Columbian Exchange is something that has become rather controversial in some circles, and in its essence, what it means is an exchange of ideas, or what was the result of the contact between the old world of Europe and the new world of the East, and principally we'll look at a few different things in terms of the exchange. One would be disease. From the New World to the Old, we will have syphilis, a disease that will be transmitted from the Old World of Europe to the New World in the East. Will be things like typhoid, diphtheria, measles, chickenpox. Whooping cough, malaria, and there is some evidence that the Black Plague was brought to America as a result of this contact. Now, there's been a group, just a very small group of historians who have, and when I say small, I mean fringe element inside our profession, who point to the Columbian Exchange, and refer to it as the Columbian Holocaust. It is true that probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 90% of the Native American population was killed off as a result of these European diseases. But it needs to be understood that no one willed it. The people in Europe did not sit down and plan, okay, let's go to the New World and we will take our diseases with us and kill off the native population. This was not something that was willed. This is not something that was foreseen. It really just plays into that law of unintended consequences. Nevertheless, 90% of the population was in fact killed off as a result of this contact. But the exchange, the contact between the old world and the new, brought real benefits. From the old world to the new, you will have cattle, horses, goats, sheep, pigs. Some dogs will come from the old world to the new. Plant life from the old world to the new. Oats, barley, wheat, and from the new world to the old, corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes, peppers, tomatoes. I mean, you're going to have a very real exchange here, not only of diseases, but of foodstuffs. And it's going to be the result of this exchange in regard to the food that you're going to see the European diet become far more balanced than it had previously been. And it's obviously going to contribute to a stronger person and will contribute to longevity. This is the final lecture in the series, and I thank you. That's all, folks. Enjoy life. It's been a pleasure. Good day.